Welcome to the Aledo Bearcats Coaches Show podcast from Real Country 92.1 Hank FM. Brought to you by H5 Sports Barn in Aledo. Recorded live every Monday night at 7 from the new Jake's Burgers in Aledo. And now, with Aledo Bearcats head coach Robby Jones, the voice of the Bearcats, Kevin Lonnquist.
Far side, one to the near. That's Caden Finley. And it'll be a give over the right side to Hawk Daniels. Breaks a tackle to the 5, keeps his feet, and he will score. Touchdown, Aledo Bearcats.
And the Bearcats were off to a 22-0 lead in that state semifinal game over Forney. They went on to win comfortably by a score of 43-7. We welcome you to the state championship edition of the Aledo Coaches Show podcast here on 92.1 Hank FM as the Bearcats going for state title number 12. They're making their 14th appearance overall. This coming Friday night, 7 o'clock kickoff at AT&T Stadium against Smithson Valley. The Bearcats are 11-2 all-time in state championship game. And if you didn't know, the two losses have been by 1 point. Tells you how good they've been when it comes to the state championship game. But again, 6:30 will be the pregame show on Hank FM. Kickoff will be at 7 o'clock. And want to thank you throughout the course of these downloading on these podcasts and on YouTube that we've had over 200 of them over each of the last 3 weeks. Huge show for you this evening. We have 3 segments. Of course, we're going to start off with Coach Jones. Our second segment will have the offensive side with quarterback Haus, Hjeny, tight end Tyson, Timms, and then on our third segment, we're going to have safety Jake Gillespie and linebacker Davohn. All right, Coach, congratulations. 43-7 over Forney. All 3 phases of this team executed so well in this game. I don't even know if you want to say if it was a surprise or just a great feeling of satisfaction of how every phase clicked on Friday night in Midlothian.
It was a great feeling because we've played great offensively and maybe not great defensively. And then we would have a deal where we would play really good defensively, maybe not so good offensively. So it was great to put together a complete game. There's still rooms for us to improve. But I feel like our guys can do it this week.
Now let's ask a little bit about this. Did you think you all could dominate a game like this? I mean, a pretty solid team over there in Forney. I mean, you don't win a regional championship without having some things go your way, and you're a very good team. Exceptional running back, too, in Javian Osborne over there. But did this domination, though, surprise you the way it unfolded like it did on Friday?
It did surprise me a little bit, but I know what our guys are capable of. And when our guys go out and they play with great intensity and they go out and execute the way they did the other night, they're a very difficult team to stop.
And I was going to say, and the one thing about this team, especially in this playoff run, Robby, and we've seen these deep runs before where the running game has led the way, and we've talked about this running game, several times. In past playoff runs, you all have been 200-plus here, 200-plus there, but this is 4 straight weeks of 300 rushing yards or more, 361 against Forney. And you didn't even need Ray Guillory for this one in this game. I mean, that's the thing that maybe stands out about how impressive and how physical this team has been, at least on that part of the football.
Right. It shows you, how dominant our offensive line has been the last couple of weeks. Those guys work, they're unselfish. They do everything that's asked of them. And then you got to also look at what the receivers are doing downfield to make those runs go a lot further. If our receivers weren't downfield blocking, some of those 15, 20-yard plays would just be about 5 or 6. So we're doing a really good job blocking. The wind played a little bit of a factor in us being so heavy run last week. We don't have to worry about the wind inside this week. So, I expect us to be able to throw the ball a lot more this time because we are indoors and we don't have the big, strong wind.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, your decision when you won the toss, but you deferred your choice to the second half, and, again, it worked out the way you wanted it to, is if you make them go against the wind, and you guys had the wind at your back, and of course you guys get the short field to score. I mean, you get the short field on the first score, and then of course you get the block punt on the second score. And so I think it's one of those things that if you play it right, and if you get the wind at your back to start, and you're making them chase the game going against the wind, that makes it feel like it's doubly tough for them.
Yeah, that was the plan all along. And I was hoping to win the toss, which we did. And then the plan was to defer the second half so that we were kicking with the wind. You put the wind in their face, right away, and if our defense could get a quick stop, which they did, then they're having to punt into that wind, and that led to a short field. So that was, the idea of deferring for the second half.
Your defense has been so consistent and really improving here over the last several weeks. I mean, I realize that, it's one thing now they're getting the turnovers. They did a great job against Crawford, their quarterback for Forney. But I think the most impressive thing was, again, going back to Javian Osborne, 13 carries, 49 yards. One of those was a 22-yard touchdown run, their only score of the night, rather. But the other 12 carries for 27 yards. That's 2.5 yards a pop. And even on the 2 catches that he had on screens, one went for 4, and then on the second one, he lost the 4 that he gained on the first one. You guys did a great job of sniffing him out.
Yeah, they did a great job. Our defensive line's been playing really well here recently, playing really good against the run. You know, the one long run that he did get, we were misaligned. So we had one misalignment that led to that 22-yard touchdown. You know, if we didn't have that, you know, he wouldn't have had that much, you know, yardage.
Yeah. And so was it the key was it just basically just having your defensive front get physical with their offensive line and limit what creases he could find?
Yeah, we were physical all night with those guys, and you know, and that pays off. You know, normally the most physical team's going to win the football game. That's one of the things we preach: be more physical than them, play harder than them, you know, and be smart and take care of the football.
You know, I go back to maybe, I don't know how much you all get to look. I mean, I don't know if you get to look at all the films that you want to now. I think there used to be a rule that you could only look at 3 games, but I think you can look at as many games as you want on them. Is that fair to say, or how does that?
Now the UIL has it to where if one coach wants to trade all games, you have to trade all games.
Okay.
You know? And you can make an agreement with them to, hey, let's just trade 5 or let's just trade 6. But if one of us wants to trade all of them, you might as well trade them all, because with the way Huddle is today,
right.
You know, you just get on the computer and send it to somebody. You know, you're going to know somebody that's played them and get 3 or 4 games, which is the way things used to work out.
Right.
You know,
right.
But nowadays you just trade them all.
Okay, so in that case, I don't know if you looked at the Longview film against Osborne, because that was his second, or at the time it was his lowest production of the season, about 76 yards, and you guys hold him. You hold Javian 27 yards below that. What did you see in the Longview film that maybe stood out why he was so frustrated that night against them?
They're a very physical defense, just like ours, you know, and I knew going in that we were going to be real similar, you know, as far as that physicality and flying to the football and making things hard on him.
And they were, for sure. Now let's switch over to your special teams, because the previous 2 weeks you've had some frustrations with their kickoff coverage team against Red Oak, and, of course, the punt team against Abilene the week before. But this week, right on par. You couldn't have asked for anything better to go. You know, you get the block punt to set up the first or second score, rather. Then in kind of an odd kickoff when you all score to start the second half, and then that ball just goes squibbing down the middle of the field, hits one of their second row guys. Free ball, you guys cover it, and so you guys were able to take advantage of that.
Yeah, but I mean, started off both halves that way. You know, we got the early stop and then score, and then we got the block punt, and then, you know, start the second half, we got the kickoff. And, you know, that's just the ball bounces funny on those squib kicks sometimes, right. And that kid didn't handle it well. So, you know, and we were able to get down the field and make a play on it.
One thing I was going to ask you, getting back to your defense here, was, you know, we talked about how physical they've been on the run defense, but as far as, like, the pass rush has been concerned, we've really seen that come alive here even more over the last couple of weeks. Anything that's changed about in terms of approach when it comes to these opposing passing games?
We're doing a better job getting pressure up front. You know, that was one of the problems early in the year, was we weren't getting a whole lot of pressure with our down linemen. But here recently, those guys have been playing, like I said, they've been playing a lot better, and they're getting pressure on the quarterback, which, you know, limits his time back there to find an open receiver.
Yep, and that's going to be important for this week, too, against Smithson Valley, if you're going to get state championship number 12 here. And the other thing I was going to mention, we've talked about this before, too, is how healthy this defensive unit has been. I mean, you did have issues with Carson Dempsey and Cooper Cyphers with their, you know, Carson having his surgery earlier in the year, and then Cooper having the hand issue there. But outside of maybe Ben McElry missing a game here, or Kai Howington missing a little game here and there, you guys have been so healthy on that side of the ball.
Yeah, knock on wood on that right there,
yeah.
You know, because, yeah, we need them to be healthy for one more football game, you know, get through one more game that way. We were bragging a few weeks ago about our offense, you know, finally being healthy, finally having everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and then in the first quarter of the Abilene game, we scored 28 points, but we had about 4 guys get injured.
And so I'm never going to bring that up. So you can blame that on me then, okay? You can throw me under the bus on that. Okay, so let's switch gears here for a second, because the UIL cutoff numbers were officially released on Friday. And you all came in at 2267, 8 below the cutoff on what the lowest number was going to be for 6A at 2275. I mean, think about it. That's 8 students below what the cutoff number was. When you saw that number, what went through your mind?
You know, It was kind of what I was expecting. Was it to be somewhere close to there? So we were good with going either way with it. We like being 5A for 2 more years. Gives us 2 more years, to grow a little bit before we go up to 6A. But there's going to be some really good football teams in 5A Division I. You got Highland Park dropping down.
Right.
You also have DeSoto, who's probably the best team in the state of Texas right now.
And there's been some talk, too, about whether DeSoto would consider petitioning to stay at 6A. That just seems to be some talk about that.
Yeah, and who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know if that decision has been made yet. I don't know what goes into all that. But, they could stay 5A, or they could decide that, hey, listen, we're doing what we're doing in 6A, and we want to continue with the competition of the 6A level.
Now, knowing that now, and, of course, you don't know your district yet. You won't know that until the first Monday, Tuesday, or February. But do you have a better sense of what your non-district might look like? I know you've mentioned Geyer previously.
Yeah, we've got some things lined up. They're not set in stone, and it all depends on how many teams are placed in our district. If you look out west, there's 3 El Paso teams, there's 3 Amarillo teams, and 3 Lubbock teams that are 5A Division I.
Right.
So you got to think that they might create one district out there with all those guys, which would probably send Abilene in with us. Mm-hmm. So there's no telling what's going to happen with that. But we've got some things lined up with some people that are not 5A Division I. We're still looking for some, but we're definitely playing Geyer first game next year.
Okay, got you on that. Okay, so now let's take a look at this week's state championship game against the Smithson Valley Rangers. They're 14-1, beat Brownsville Veterans Memorial this past Friday down in Corpus Christi, 49-21. When you looked at their film from that semifinal victory there, what did you see from that team?
The main thing was just how physically, tall they are. Tall, long kids, and they were dominant against the Brownsville team. And they're really well coached. They got Larry Hill there, who's a Hall of Fame coach, over 300 victories. These guys are kind of an old school, type mentality. They play really good defense. Their defense is really similar to ours. I mentioned this to you earlier that,
right.
Coach Hill and his defensive staff came down a few years ago. I believe it was when Coach Wood was still the head coach, and they met with Coach Wood and Coach McCone about our defense and talked defense with them, for an entire day, not knowing that, eventually we're going to play these guys in a state championship.
Yeah. Looking at the mirror on something like that. Yeah. And so, but again, it's going to come down to players and execution and handling the nerves as the game unfolds, that sort of thing as well. And so their quarterback is Ryland Walker. They have a dynamic wide receiver in Texas commit, Freddie DuBose. And they have 2 pretty good running backs, one who may not play this week. That's Brad Sowersby. He looks like he got hurt against Brownsville on Friday night. But their other one, Daniel DeHoyas, had a couple of touchdowns there. When you watch that offense there, what kind of jumps out to you, especially when you have a guy like Walker leading that offense?
They're very consistent. They're good at what they do. They're going to run, real similar schemes, like just almost like we're talking about their defense a minute ago. Right. Real similar schemes to what we do. They run a lot of inside zone. They run a lot of stretch, and then they are really good at play action off of those plays. So, we got to be good in all phases.
Is that a case where, like a DuBose, and you've seen so many great receivers during the course of this playoff run, even throughout this season. I'm going to start off with Josiah Martin up at Denton Geyer, and of course, then you saw the Twins over at Red Oak a couple weeks ago. And so, but what is the problem that maybe DuBose could pose for you?
Physically, he's tall, big body, not necessarily the speed like we saw with the Red Oak guys, but he's still got some speed. But then, he's just tall.
Okay. And then on the defensive side, we talked about them. They're going to run the 4-3 because of their meetings with you all a few years ago. I had seen somewhere that they probably have like 7 to 10 defensive touchdowns this year. So they like to be opportunistic. But, again, you've run into opportunistic teams like that. You saw it with Cooper. You saw it with Red Oak. And, of course, you saw it with Abilene, especially with Abilene, because that's how Abilene made its deep run like that. So when you face a defense that wants to, for lack of a better word, gamble, but wants to take advantage of that, what's the message to your team in something like that?
We got to take care of the football. That's the message every week. We can't give them extra possessions. That will lead to them, having a better chance to beat us, by giving them extra possessions. So we try not to give them extra possessions. They get those turnovers because they are, so disciplined and well coached. So they're in the right spots. You're not going to, get into a situation where you're going to trick them.
Right.
They're smart kids too. You can get on line and look at their Twitters and all that, and they got their GPAs posted there, and they're 4.0s and 3.9s and 3.8. So,
right.
Real similar to Aledo type kids, just being really smart kids that go out and play football really hard and do what they're asked to do.
This is a program that's making its 4th appearance all time in the state championship, but their first as a 5A. They were, when 5A was 5A back in the early 2000s, and that's when it's now 6A, but this is their first appearance in 20 years. By the way, their defense is led by linebacker / defensive end Jackson Maynard, and then safety Diego Davila. But I wanted to ask you just finally, because this program has been through this year after year rather, in terms of just going through the week of preparation of a state championship game. The media day is on Tuesday, where everyone kind of comes in and gets all their interviews, notes, things of that nature. What's the work week like for you all? Because does it change? Is it pretty much the normal as you would like you're getting ready for Saginaw and as you're getting ready for the Colony?
It's the same. We practice the same way, for a state championship game, just like we do for a Saginaw, Brewer, whoever we are playing, that particular week. So none of that changes, Now you do have to have the media day and stuff like that. You can't believe how many people that, haven't covered us all year, all of a sudden, we're one of their teams that they want to cover now, Yeah. So, we have to tell them, no, we don't really want you coming to practice and talking to our kids right after practice. We're going to have a media day on Tuesday, and all you guys show up then.
Yeah, and that kind of works that way. And then for you, you personally, just in terms of, when do you think your game plan for this one is already in place? Is it in place now, or does it get finalized by like Wednesday or anything of that nature?
The game plan's in place. We put the game plan in place every week on Sunday. Sunday the game plan's in. Now, as you go through the week, as the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, you see stuff that you really don't like and you just scrap it, and you then focus on the things that you really, really like to do.
Okay, and then just one last thing is before we, because Davohn Keys will be joining us here in the third segment. The season that he's had, just in terms of just productivity on both sides of the ball and how physical he's been, what has his, just emergence or just taking it to the next level meant to help this team get into this point again this year?
He's helped lead this team to the point where we're at. He does his work over on defense, and then when we ask him to come over to offense, he's coming over and producing. Not only when he's just carrying the ball and scoring touchdowns, but also, we might have him lead block for Haus, So, he's a versatile guy that, you really, you can't lose a guy like that, during the season. And luckily he's been able to stay healthy. He had the little ankle sprain against Denton Ryan, but luckily we had the bye week the next week, so he recovered from that real quick. But just a great leader by example. He's not the most vocal guy in the world, but, if you want to build a football team, you want to say, hey, look, go look at this guy, watch what this guy does on a daily basis, and go be like him. And if we can get, more guys like that, we're going to be better next year.
Absolutely. All right, Coach. Well, listen, we're looking forward to it this coming Friday evening, 7 o'clock, and continued luck in getting prepared for this one against Smithson Valley, and we'll see you Friday at Jerry World.
Oh, thank you.
All right. When we come back for the second segment, we'll be joined by Haus Hjeny as well as Tyson Timms. Stick around. The podcast returns after this timeout.
Davohn Keys with the carry, running to the 10, to the 5, throws his shoulder into a defensive back, and he scores. Touchdown, Aledo Bearcats.
And that was the final touchdown that the Bearcats scored, the fourth one for Davohn Keys. We'll hear from Davohn here in just a little moment here in the third segment. We welcome you back to the Aledo Coaches Show podcast, the state championship edition, as the Bearcats are getting ready to take on the Smithson Valley Rangers. 7 o'clock is the kickoff at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. Pre-game show on Hank FM is at 6:30. Want to remind you that we are brought to you by H5 Sports Barn and Nye Physio. H5 Sports Barn and Nye Physio and Performance can help unlock your athletic potential and elevate your game like the Aledo Bearcats. With expert sports physical therapy, tailored recovery plans, and top-notch sports performance training. H5 Sports Barn, proud supporter of the Aledo Bearcats. Real quick Aledo alumni report, former defensive back for the Bearcats, B.J. Allen, who is at Texas, entered the transfer portal last week, so we'll have to wait and see where his future will take him as far as his next stop in his college football journey. We're joined now by quarterback Haus Hjeny, who is to my left, and then to my far left here is the tight end Tyson Timms. And guys, good to have you back. I think this is appearance number 5 for you and appearance number 2 for you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Haus, let's just talk about last week's game. I was talking with Coach Jones about this in terms of just, again, the quick start for you guys, score the first couple of times you touch the football, you take advantage of the short field. Of course, you get the block punt from Davohn that sets up the other score. But the way you guys have attacked these games so fast, does it even kind of stun you on how quickly you guys have started here? And I'm going back to Red Oak and then Abilene and, of course, Forney.
I mean, it doesn't really stun us at all because that's the expectation headed into any game is we got to, hit the ground running and, show them that, we're here to play and that, you're not going to be able to play with us. So, it's setting the tone, especially with the run game last week. I mean, you obviously saw that. We put 300 yards on the ground and, it worked all night. So, we didn't, stray from it and, we ran the ball well last week.
You've been running it well the last 4 weeks. 4 consecutive weeks where you guys have run for over 300 yards in a game. I think the total was 361. So, Tyson, since you're on the edge there, you're chipping off the tackle spot there. What's been kind of like when you're going through these games where you guys have just been wearing these guys down? What do you sense on the opposing side, the defensive front of the linebackers who are just getting – I mean, because I talked to the Williams brothers about this. But just from your perspective, when you're watching the game unfold like this, do you see the body language shift? Do you see any frustration come out of these players as this game is unwinding like this?
Yeah, well, with how fast we start, the defense usually comes out flying, but then once we put up 2-3 scores on them, you can definitely tell there's a shift in body language, and you can tell that they're defeated already, like with Red Oak after our 3rd score, after Ray took off on a 70-something yard touchdown.
78, yeah.
Yeah. The whole defense was just shut down, and we've seen that week in, week out. And then once you see that, it's game over. And all they do after that is they just try to talk smack, but we just talk smack with our shoulder pads and go kick tail.
Actions speak louder than words, right?
Yes, sir.
So let's talk. Okay, we talked about this too, Haus, where no Ray Guillory on Friday night. And I would think that, and we kind of talked a little bit last week off air, that there might be a chance that they're going to run you a little bit more for as long as the postseason run is. You had over about 130 yards on Friday night against Forney. What's that like, just kind of get back in that swing? You've had a couple 100-yard games, but now it seems like with Ray's situation up in the air for Friday, that you're going to probably be asked to do pretty much the same that you did against Forney.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the pass game, it wasn't really our strong suit last Friday. I mean, they did a good job defending that, and, our run game was working early on. So, going into the halftime, we were averaging 7 yards a carry in the first half. So,
right.
The run game was obviously going to be the emphasis. And, with Ray being hurt and, having Hawk back there, we can't afford to lose Hawk. So, I'm going to be, running the ball a little bit, which I did. And, our O-line did a good job of blocking. Our receivers did a good job of blocking downfield because, like Coach Jones said earlier, a 5-yard run, it turns into a 15 to 20-yard run when you got receivers downfield blocking for you. So, that helped out huge last week for us.
And let's talk about this too, Tyson, because really either it's a stretch play or it's just going to come outside, where you guys have done a great job of, between you or your tackle, depending on where you're lined up with the receivers, how they've pinched everybody in. They've just created that. They've sealed everything off there so that hole just becomes wide open. What's kind of not to give away any secrets, but what's the key in something like that in terms of those plays on the edge being set up for big plays like they become?
Well, the 2 main things is you got to take the right angle. You can't go where the guy is at. You got to go where the guy is going to be, and that comes with experience. If you would have asked me this last year, week 1 against Parrish, I wouldn't have an answer for you. But, with experience, you learn that. And then second thing is just like hand placement, because if you don't have your hands inside, you have them out, A, you can get called for holding, and 2, the defender's probably just going to toss you off.
All right. And so in terms of just when you see that kind of hole develop, or if it's just like the C parts for you, or if you see it develop for Hawk, what kind of goes through your mind? It's like, do you want to hit it faster, or do you want to just kind of let the play develop, Haus, in terms of just how you want to approach a play like that? Is it like, if you see it open up, do you want to just I want to take that first step and get faster through it, or do you need to be patient with something like that?
Sometimes you need to be patient and, let blocks develop because, sometimes an O-lineman is pulling and he's got to, get through here and then work to, a middle linebacker or some sort of backer. And that takes time sometimes because they got a lot of ruckus going on down there. So sometimes you do need to be more patient and read a little bit, but sometimes you got to get downhill and vertical and not let guys catch you and, get away from those kind of things. So, yeah.
Was this game against Forney, not so much the fact that you all won in convincing fashion, but the fact that this thing was pretty much over at halftime. Did that even surprise you? And when you were talking about a state semifinal game, where, of course, this is totally 180 of what happened last year against Longview, but did that surprise you, Tyson, on how quickly this thing got out of hand so fast?
If I'm being completely honest, no, not really. I was really confident in the game plan. All week we've been executing really well. And the coaches put in a great game plan. The coaches trust us to go make plays. And the scoreboard spoke for itself. And I think the first two games or before that, so Red Oak and Abilene, really gave us confidence in ourselves. So we were able to go out and execute and, just go do our thing.
And then for you, Haus, I think the one thing that stands out to me from this performance was how complete it was. All three phases were clicking. Obviously, you all did what you needed to do on offense. Defense completely shut them down, including Javian Osborne, their talented running back. They didn't even get to 50 yards in the ball game. And then your special teams, which has had some up and down moments, created two opportunities for you. You couldn't have asked for a better way to get into the state championship game with this kind of performance.
Oh, for sure. Coach Jones, really talked about before this game, we need to have a complete game, like you said, which we did because, early on in the playoffs, offense did well, sometimes defense didn't do so well, and, defense did really well, sometimes offense didn't, and then special teams, we've had some flukes here and there. So, really emphasis going into this game is if we're going to win this football game, we need to have a complete game, which we did, and, props to the coaches for, emphasizing on all three phases of the game, and, all we had to do was go out and execute like Tyson said, and, we came out on top.
All right, so let's just talk about moving ahead to looking at Smithson Valley here. 14-1, they won their semifinal game over Brownsville Veterans Memorial. When you watch them on defense, they kind of might be a mirror image of you guys because they run the 4-3. And in terms of just what you see against them, Tyson, what kind of jumps out to you in terms of things that you have to pay attention to as you all are preparing for this week?
Well, it's what Coach Jones said. They're really tall. Their whole defense, I think, is over 6 foot. So they got length on them. And then you got to look at the D-line, see what they like to do, and then you got to look at the coverage guys, the secondary, and see what coverages they like to run, whether it's 2, 4, 6, man, whatever.
Okay, and then for you, Haus, what's when you look at that again with that length there, and of course if they're going to probably be trained like any defensive lineman. If they can't get to you, they're going to get their hands up to try and shield you on passing windows. So what kind of things that you look at as you're preparing for this week against them?
Coach Jones talked about, they're very similar to us. And, what I've noticed is they're a very sound, disciplined football team that, knows their assignment and they're going to execute it well. They're not going to have very many self-inflicted mistakes, I would say. I'm just going to, as a quarterback, recognize what they're doing, in the secondary wise and, know what to do with the football when I have it in my hands because, at their cornerback position, they're very smart. The number 4, one of their really good corners, does a really good job of, reading the quarterback's footwork and, based on what he's going to do off the quarterback's footwork. So, I might have to change some things with that based on, what kind of, pass play or run play we're doing because he's taking a few hitch routes, back to the house. Because, either the quarterback's, doing, quick game footwork and, he's been able to jump a route and things like that. So, I'm going to have to be disciplined with my eyes and feet on Friday. But if we go out and play our football game and the brand of football we know how to play and, take care of the football and not have any self-inflicted mistakes, we should handle business against them because, I have a lot of confidence because of these past few weeks that if we go out there and, just have fun and let loose, we should be just fine.
And they're a defense, as we were talking previously with Coach Jones about the fact they have about 10 defensive touchdowns this year. Is there anything, you were talking about just a moment ago, reading the quarterback's feet on some of those guys jumping routes. Anything else that you saw in any of those defensive scores that they put up that really jumped out at you? And I'm going to have you answer this too, question, Tyson. I'll start with you, Haus.
They fly to the football and they have a lot of care in what they do because, they're a well-coached team. Their coaches, won a lot of games, so that coach has experience, and it only just flows down from there, and they want it just as bad as we do. This is, I think, one of their first state championship appearances in a while, and, you know.
In 20 years,
in 20 years, so, you know, they're going to come out ready to go, and especially against us, you know, everybody wants to beat Aledo, and, you know, we're just going to have to be ready to go because they flatted the football, and, you know, they're going to be doing everything they can to, you know, turn the ball over on us, whether it's stripping the ball or, you know, contesting catches.
Sure. And then, Tyson, what did you see as you were looking at what that defense does?
Well, I mean, I'd say the exact same thing that Haus said. You know, they got great coaches, so they're going to be coached well. And when you have a defense that's coached well, they're going to go fly, go try to create turnovers, and it's the last game of the year. They're going to try to do everything they can to put the ball on the ground to get our offense off the field. But I think the biggest thing with, like, the pick sixes and whatnot, I think it's the receivers are selling, or they're not selling the route enough. And I think with our guys, the guys that we got in our receiving core, I don't think that will be an issue.
Final game for you guys as Aledo Bearcats. How sobering is that to know that this is it? I mean, nobody knows when their weeks, if they're a playoff team, they don't know when their season is going to end. But for you guys, you actually know this is going to be it for you. So what kind of goes through your mind? I'll start with you, Haus, on this in terms of just realizing that this is it, and then you start a new chapter in January over at TCU.
Man, it's been awesome. I couldn't have been any more blessed to play for a program like this for the past 3 years. I can't believe it's almost over. Like, today was my last Monday practice. All throughout practice, I was like, this is our last Monday of doing inside hole. Never going to do this again. But, you know, the emphasis throughout playoffs is, like, leave no regrets. Take it all in because you don't know when your last moment's going to be. So take advantage of everything, whether it's, you know, watching extra film on, you know, whatever they're doing defensively.
Right.
Or, you know, doing a few extra reps in the weight room, or whether it's, you know, running this route a little bit harder, or, you know, running out my play fakes a little bit more. But I'm just so grateful to have Coach Jones as an OC the past 2 years, and then him being the head coach this year. He's been a wonderful mentor for me, and I wouldn't be the quarterback that I am without him. And, you know, the OC now, Coach Williams. Aledo's a special place in my heart, and always will have a special place in my heart. And, you know, I'm proud to be a Bearcat. I'm going to be a Bearcat the rest of my life. And, you know, I'm going to go out there and put my heart and body on the line for my team on Friday because, you know, I want to go out with a bang and win another state championship and, you know, start his head coaching off the right way. And, you know, I could say a whole lot more about what it means to be a Bearcat, but yeah.
And then for you, Tyson, just the fact that here it is coming up on Friday.
Honestly, it's a bittersweet moment. You know, I mean, it really sucks that it's coming to an end. I wish I could play for I don't even know how much longer. But, you know, I'm glad that we have the team that we have, the coaches that we have, the culture that we've created here, and I'm glad that we can go out with a bang in the state championship and bring home 12.
All right. And then we'll get to final things on recruiting with you. Of course, Haus, you've already been committed to TCU for several months, and you're going to be enrolling in You're going to be signing on December 20th. You're going to be enrolling in January here, and we were just talking about this. Because of the way this has been jammed in there, you can't actually do your official visit because of the way things have been crunched in there. But I think given the way how well you know that campus, you could be the one giving the official tour visits to everybody else, right?
Definitely. That's why I like it. I would like to do the official visit, but I've been up there so much the past couple months and my whole life that there's nothing really new to, like, show me up there. I've kind of been around everything. But
yeah, you might want to show all the players that are coming in with you. Maybe you haven't seen this or you haven't seen that sort of thing. And then, Tyson, we were talking before our segment started that your recruiting has started to pick up here. So kind of fill everybody in on what's been going on with you.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, the past, I think, 2 weeks have hauled in a bunch of offers, some smaller D2, D3 schools, and then the three biggest ones that I've gotten right now are this past 2 weeks are Davidson, Butler, and Colorado School of Mines, which is the #1 Division II school in the nation, and they play in the championship Saturday in McKinney. But, you know, I'm just grateful that I get the opportunity to go play at the next level because a lot of guys can't say that. So I'm just grateful, it started, it happened late, but I'm just glad that I actually get the opportunity to go play.
Do you have official visits set up with any of those schools? Are you trying to get those set up in January?
So for right now, my mindset through this whole thing has been focused on high school football and winning the state championship. And then after we win, then I'll figure all that out. But I don't want to pay attention to all that right now. I just want to focus on this team.
All right, sounds good, man. Listen, congratulations to both of you on this run so far. One more to go. Let's get it done on Friday against Smithson Valley. That's Haus, Hjeny, the quarterback for the Bearcats in the last 2 years, and then that's Tyson Timms, the tight end for the Bearcats the last 2 years. Guys, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Third segment of the Coaches Show podcast. We'll be right back. We'll have Jake Gillespie and Davohn Keys. Stick around. And we're back for the third segment of the Aledo Coaches Show podcast, the state championship edition. And now we're going to be brought to you by the defensive side by Jake Gillespie and Davohn Keys. Before we do that, just another reminder that H5 Sports Barn and Hjeny Physio and Performance can help unlock your athletic potential and elevate your game like the Aledo Bearcats. With expert sports physical therapy, tailored recovery plans, and top-notch sports performance training. H5 Sports Barn, proud supporters of the Aledo Bearcats. Okay, safety Jake Gillespie, linebacker and running back extraordinary Davohn Keys are joining me here. Guys, welcome. Just talk about this performance against Forney on Friday night, 43-7. And again, I was talking to Haus, Hjeny, and Tyson Timms about this and Coach Jones. With the fact that you guys got after them and this thing was pretty much over like around the middle of the second quarter, their touchdown notwithstanding, that surprised you how fast this thing, reached that kind of where you could sense this was kind of over without naming the score. What did you think about that, Jake?
Well, I think everybody knows we're capable of doing that, but it was just a matter of executing all three phases. And I think last week we kind of put all that together, and that was the outcome.
Okay, and then for you, Davohn?
I definitely had confidence in our defense and the offense and the whole team as a whole. I knew we were going to go out, go hard, play fast, play physical, and I had confidence in everybody that we were going to steamroll them, and that's it. That's
kind of what happened, yeah. Okay, so think about this. Javian Osborne, their 2,100-yard rusher, 37 touchdowns coming into this game, 13 carries, 49 yards, and if it wasn't for the 22-yard touchdown run, he had 12 carries for 27 yards. When you looked at him and defending him, getting ready to defend him last Friday, Jake, I'll start with you. What was the key that you felt like, obviously, defensive front push notwithstanding, but what did you think was going to be the key of really containing him and making him earn everything that he got?
Well, I really had a lot of confidence in our D-line, and when they went out and executed, I didn't really see a whole lot of them from the safety
So you were kind of bored, weren't you?
Yeah, didn't get a whole lot of
action. Did you get the night off?
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
yeah,
I thought you did.
They gave me one night off.
You didn't get the night off, though. I mean, you were kind of involved with him quite a bit, though, in terms of just, watching him in terms of just being as physical with him. What stood out to you in terms of just having to shut him down, and what did that mean to you in terms of just limiting a guy like this?
So watching him during warm-ups, he was definitely a great back, had great vision. He could move really well. The D-line gave great assistance, and it was a matter of matching his physicality and not giving him too much space to work with.
Okay, you guys forced 3 turnovers. You got the couple interceptions, and, of course, that's a live ball on the squib kick on the kickoff to start the third quarter, or early in the third quarter, rather. Opportunistic. I mean, what did that mean for you guys to just be and we'll get to the block punt here in a second. I haven't forgotten that. And so, but just being opportunistic here and creating that kind of situation, that's been really waiting for this defense to do that. What did that mean to get that kind of productivity and that part of the defense, Jake?
Well, I think it helped us out a lot because in the past, during their playoff run, they didn't give up a whole lot of opportunities. And when we got those opportunities, I think we took advantage of it, and it played in our favor. Okay,
and then Davohn, okay, so we'll get to the block punt here. So it seemed like to me that they were very casual. Adolfo, their punter, like on the first one, you guys actually had an opportunity to block that. I think Kai came in and then kind of pulled off at the last second. But then I wonder, though, if you guys had noticed something, saying they were being real casual, and I don't want to say lackadaisical, but, I mean, it was too – they weren't urgent with getting the punt off there. Did you guys notice that? And then obviously you took advantage of it on the second punt.
So we did notice going into the week, watching film of their special teams, we saw that their punt was very slow and methodical, and we knew we'd have a lot of chances at blocking it, and it was just a matter of executing.
Okay, so were you pretty much on block there, or were you able to squirt through there? How did that kind of unfold for you?
So this was actually the first game I had a chance to block the punt, and it was in the game plan to, when we go block, I'm rushing through the A gap, and I set it up. So first time I attacked straight between the blockers. So they expected that the second time, and I went right around them and blocked the punt.
Okay, and then you didn't finish it because then you fell down at the 22-yard line. So what's up with that?
I was chasing after the ball, had a bad bounce, a little off balance, just had to get the ball first.
All right, so for you guys, though, I mean, but this was the game, though. I mean, and you all have played so well throughout the course of the year, but I mean, seems so complete versus any of the other games that you all played. Offense was quick, again, over 300 yards rushing. You guys limited them to 200 yards total, and maybe it wasn't even that. And then forcing the turnovers, and then the special teams kicked in. What did that performance say about where you guys are at as a team because of what's riding at stake? We'll start with you, Davohn.
It said a lot about the hard work and dedication we've put in. If you compare our games from week 1 to week 15, it's a drastic difference. And it really goes to show that we've been getting better each and every game, and we're not taking anything lightly, and we're going into every game like it's our last.
Okay, and then for you, Jake, what did that performance mean to you guys in terms of just you personally, but maybe guys in the secondary, about having that kind of complete performance?
Well, I think we've just been improving every week, and it's a good thing that we're having this now because we want to be playing our best ball now. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the offense there for Smithson Valley. Again, they scored 49 points in their win over Brownsville Memorial. They have nearly 600 points scored for the season. I mean, the quarterback, Rylan Walker, we'll start with you, Davohn. What do you see with him? What kind of stands out to you in terms of just what he's capable of doing and what you all have to look for in this game?
He's definitely a great quarterback. His play fakes are very good. Not much to say about it. He has a great ball. He can fit it in the tight windows. He has great pocket presence, and we're definitely going to have to focus on containing him.
Okay, and then sliding over to the wide receiver, Jake, in terms of Texas commit Freddie DuBose. Big physical guy, may not be the speed burner like Taz Williams was at Red Oak or anything like that, but what do you see from him that presents the challenge for you all in the secondary?
Well, I think he's a very good athlete, but I think we've played some very good athletes in the past, especially on this playoff run. And I trust that our corners and me and Boogie, we're going to be just as athletic as he is.
And you and Boogie have been pretty quiet. I mean, and I don't want to say that in a negative way, but you guys have been quiet, but doing your job so much that nobody talks about how well these safeties have played. What's been the communication like with you and Boogie throughout the course of this playoff run? Because it's been such a great air defense back there. What's that been like with you and Boogie this year? I mean,
just staying on the same page, having good communication, and then in the run game, we're not getting a whole lot of action because our D-line's doing pretty good right now.
Again, you got Friday off, so you should be physically ready to go, right?
Yes,
okay, so they have two running backs. We're not sure about Brad Sowersby, their other running back who got hurt against Brownsville Veterans Memorial, but Daniel DeHoyas had a couple of touchdowns against them. Anything that you see on him, and just the overall running game as far as Smithson Valley is concerned?
So overall, they have a great two-back system. They do well of pairing the speed of 26 with the physicality of the other running back, and they do a great job at carrying out play fakes and faking to one running back and then giving it to the other to try to confuse the defense.
Okay, and then for you, Jake, I mean, because you're going to be used on run support in some form or fashion, but what stands out about their running game that will be important for the last line of defense to take care of on Friday?
Well, I think they have a really good O-line, and I think they have receivers that will go out and block, and they're not afraid to be physical. So just out-physicaling them and getting to the running back, that'll be the key.
Okay, guys, so I asked this of Haus and Tyson earlier in terms of just this is it. This is the last game for you guys as Aledo Bearcats. And, this has been an exceptional journey. Won a state championship last year, going for another one this Friday evening. What's this journey been like for you, and knowing that there's kind of sobering that it's coming to an end too, but what's it been like for you on this journey? We'll start with you, Davohn.
It's definitely been a great journey, starting from freshman year and having to work my way up to varsity, and the many great people I've met along the way. It's definitely something I can't truly explain or express how grateful I am for.
Okay, and then for you, Jake.
I mean, it's been great for me since I moved here, going into my junior year, and I'm just excited to play this Friday. Even though it's going to be our last game, I want to go out with a bang.
Okay, guys, just a reminder here that Davohn will be signing with LSU on the 20th of December, and then he will be enrolling early in January down in Baton Rouge. Is that correct? That's still the case?
Yes.
All right, that is correct. And then, Jake, you've committed to, and you will be signing with Stephen F. Austin down in Nacogdoches also on the 20th, and then you're looking at scheduling your official visit to them sometime in January,
yes,
and then you'll be enrolling in the summer then. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, two of the gentlemen here that are part of this amazing 2024 recruiting class for the Aledo Bearcats. Again, the Bearcats going for their 12th state championship this Friday night against Smithson Valley. Jake, Davohn, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
All right. Again, a reminder that the Bearcats are going for their 12th state championship, their 14th appearance overall, 7 o'clock kickoff at AT&T Stadium against the Smithson Valley Rangers. The Bearcats are looking for state title number 12. They already have the lead of any program across the state of Texas with the most, currently at 11. They want to get that to a dozen here. And again, we hope that you'll join us at 6:30 on Hank FM with the pregame show. Kickoff is at 7 o'clock. And if you aren't able to join us out at AT&T Stadium, of course, you can listen to us on the app, or you can listen to us. You can turn down the television sound and you can turn us up. We will be back here next week to wrap things up, and then we'll also look ahead to National Signing Day, which will be on the 20th. We will talk to you all next Monday at Jake's. Again, everybody, safe drive out to AT&T Stadium, or if you're not, just make sure that you watch the Bearcats and listen to us and see if they can get state championship number 12. We'll talk to you all next week. I'm Kevin Lonnquist. Good night.
Thanks for listening to the Aledo Bearcats Coaches Show podcast, brought to you by H5 Sports Barn in Aledo, with Bearcats head coach Robby Jones and the voice of the Bearcats, Kevin Lonnquist. Please like and subscribe to this podcast and tell a friend. You're also welcome to join us in person every Monday night at 7 from the new Jake's Burgers, 601 FM 1187 in Aledo. And then listen to every Aledo Bearcats game, home and away, live on 92.1 Hank FM, on the free 92.1 Hank FM app, or online at 921hankfm.com. The Aledo Coaches Show podcast is a production of Real Country, Hank FM.